artists who are involved with visual arts. 2 or 3 or more weren't able to join us. Brother Manes Marusak, who is showing his pictures in the St. Catherine Church here in Tallinn. Also Karol Simon, a photographer who shows his photographs here in the bar of the Teatrum. And Jurga Judite, a Lithuanian invited artist who had to go back to Vilnius this morning and unfortunately cannot join us. And Dana Benedicta as well, Sister Dana could not make it here in Tallinn for these days. But we have plenty of opportunity to discuss things together. Not all members are fluent English speakers, so they may express themselves slightly differently or through a translation, but I hope things will work as smoothly as possible. And at the end of their exchange and contribution, we shall try and venture into questions with you so that a dialogue can exist between these Dominican friar sister artists, visual artists, and the audience. I would like to kick off this roundtable by asking each of you to say something about, to introduce yourself for those who are not familiar with what you're doing, where you're living, what your favorite artistic expression is. Briefly introduce yourself in whatever language, well, English preferably, because that's planned for the translations. But if Felix wants to speak some Spanish, Leonardo is kindly there to translate. So can I give the floor first to Adam Rokosz, and then we move on to the table and just introduce yourself.
My name is Adam Rokosz. I'm living in Berlin and there working in the parish and also in thank you, Alain. And also in the publishing role. I am layouting newspapers and magazines about preaching and about the way how to explain sacraments for the people in our parish and abroad. It's enough for this moment? Yeah, it's enough.
Hello. My name is Sister Maria Pavlina Kašparova. I'm from the Czech Republic. I started my art career in fashion design, and I moved through textile and painting to photography and video. So now I'm working with digital technologies and the way how express or how to start dialogue with other people through new media and through digital technologies in art and theology.
So I'm Brother Björn. I'm a Swedish Dominican, and I'm also what is called a cooperator brother. So I'm not an ordained priest. We are rare examples in Western Europe, but much more in Asia, for example, in Vietnam, for example, and other countries. But I have been working in architecture and especially urbanism, also as a brother. I'm an architect by profession. And since that time, many years ago, I have been also painting. So I'm painting, and this year I've been for 1 year I've been to France in La Tourette, one of our priories in France, and then I had the occasion to paint a lot. Now I'm back in Sweden since a few weeks in Lund in the south of Sweden.
My name is Carlos Simbajón. I'm a Filipino, but I belong to the province of the Holy Rosary province in Spain. We have our vicariate in Spain. and it's a great pleasure to be here to share also my works, my dedication in art. I have only few training and formation in art when I was in Avila, in the Monastery de Santo Tomas, the Villas Artes Serrano in Avila, and which the formation of the young artists, and my superior in Santo Tomas, Father Marcos Ruiz. Sad to say he passed away, and he encouraged me to be part of also this preaching ministry, which is art. And I believe this is a very efficacious way of transmitting the gospel through visual art, because this is my passion to do it. So I did my first exhibit of my paintings in Avila last 2016 during the Jubilee year of the order, which the context of the martyrs, the Spanish friars who were assassinated during the Civil War, and it's published already in the book of Martyrs by Father Pucci. And yeah, I think this is one way of my collaboration and part of the Dominican family as artist. I can't imagine we're traveling from all over, from different corners of the world to stay here to be part of this sharing experience, different talents that we have, and put it as an energy, put together our talents to preach the gospel. So this is my it's very important in my life now to be part of it. Maybe I will give my microphone to Felix also, because we came from the same in the Iberian Peninsula. We came in the same place, but different places to share the gospel in the environment of art and paintings. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, yo soy Félix, soy un fraile español que desde pequeño, desde que era un niño, estuve apasionado por la pintura y el dibujo, y descubrí mi vocación religiosa cuando estaba estudiando la carrera de Bellas Artes.
My name is Felix. I'm a Dominican, right? And from the childhood, I am passionate about drawing and painting. And I found my vocation when I was studying fine arts.
Desde entonces he desarrollado mi trabajo sobre todo en el ámbito del dibujo y la ilustración, y también por medio de la pintura abstracta.
Since then, I've been developing my vocations through drawing and illustrations, and also abstract painting.
Con mi trabajo intento investigar y profundizar en la intensa relación que existe entre el arte, entre el misterio humano y el misterio de Dios, ¿no? El arte es también mi forma de predicar y de hacer teología.
I investigate the deep relationship between art, human spirit, and the mystery of God. And this is my way of preaching.
Thank you, all of you. Now you've already mentioned some of the connections between arts and your vocation and your contribution to the preaching of the order. I'd like to elaborate a little bit more about your experiences of how your painting artistic activities or video or textile, whatever, but how your artistic activity allowed you to engage in the mission of the order and in the preaching mission of the order. What can you share maybe each one experience where this was telling for you, where this is what was important for you? Maybe let's start.
So photography is for me a way of opening myself. This medium here, through this camera, it's a way to making contact. And the emotions are certainly very powerful. You know, when you're looking on a photograph, you are just one step removed from the reality, or which virtually there, looking through the eyes of the photographer. So I don't separate myself of what I'm looking for. Photography is for me a very intimate way of capturing the reality, especially when you are taking sociological portraits, as I make, close to the people. But it comes with acceptance. And acceptance is a product of how you approach people, how you speak to them, what you say. Are you looking at someone to let them understand you have sympathy for them, that you respect they going through, the people going through, respect them as individuals, and developing a kind of rapport and trust with individuals, even to establish a kind of intimacy. It's necessary to engage in conversation with others on matters of faith.
For me, the work with the medium wasn't as so important as the work itself, because when I started displaying my work with others, which I tried to reach out of my religious circles, I wanted to show that even the art which is driven by religion or the theology is it's worth to show, and it doesn't need to be disqualified by the religion itself. And then I noticed that we have something in common with the other artists, and that nowadays the voice of artists is very powerful, it's very activist. And I was thinking, like, how is it similar to what we do? And activists actually, they try for change a lot. And then I searched a bit, what's the difference between activism and preaching? And I found out that we actually have the very same goals, to change the society towards something which is better human development. Then I found out that actually we are all activists, and if we are Christians, we are activists as well. So it's our common ground for making changes in the world. And for me, the art is the voice of the change. So preachers are activists, and if we are order of preachers, we are order of activists, and we are visual activists here sitting and trying to establish some changing in society for the better good and for the human development, which is redemption.
I can say that if I start just to say something about my vocation, because I come from a very, very secular environment in Sweden, family and everything. I never had any contact. Well, I was baptized and so, but otherwise, no. So when I approached architecture and art, it was really a mean to get into something which is more close to life, close to myself, experience, out of pure rational knowledge, and yeah, a more intuitive way of living. So, and becoming later a Christian, that was a path that opened for me to becoming a Christian and later a brother. So art is very special for me in that way, that it opened a path towards God. And I think it has that possibility always, if it's something that is made with heart and intuition and sincerity, art has that possibility. Today, I really, it's, art is also a way of engaging with other artists. So wherever I come, I always get contacts with artists, and we have conversation, and there is always the possibility to broaden the perspective with artistical people. I think it's really a way to coming out of the very, very close Christian circle, which is not so big in our countries. So conversation around the paintings. Paintings has to talk by themselves. People can enter, and I hope my paintings, other images in church can help people to engage more with their inner self, as it helped me once.
Felix, can you?
Yo también estoy convencido de que nuestra sociedad necesita muchos espacios de encuentro y de diálogo. Y para mí el arte es un lugar privilegiado para establecer ese encuentro, ese diálogo entre las personas en general, pero también entre la Iglesia y el resto de la sociedad.
I do also believe that we need those spaces to encounter, to meet and dialogue. And I think the art is a privileged space to hold that, to hold those those meetings between people and between people and the church.
En mi trabajo intento que mis cuadros sean algo así como un espejo en el que podamos reconocernos yo como autor y el espectador, un espejo en el que podamos encontrarnos en nuestra verdad más íntima.
In my paintings, I try that they work as a mirror between the author and the viewer, and they found an intimate truth.
poder encontrarnos en ese espacio personal que yo estoy convencido que es común a todas las personas y desde el que podemos empezar a construir algo juntos.
A common space where we can all meet and we can all work, build together.
Y por último, trato de poner ese espacio de encuentro, la riqueza que pueda surgir de ese encuentro, poderlo poner al servicio también del Evangelio y de la predicación.
And ultimately, put that space for preaching and for preaching the gospel and for preaching the gospel.
I would like to stress three important parts. My vocation in art. First, since I was young, my passion in art developed when I was in elementary until I entered the Dominican order. Quite interesting because when I was young, thinking about religious life, I always inclined to paintings, and my specialization first and foremost is more on portrait, because I gained money from friends who asked me to paint, no? Just like charcoal and also oil painting, and also I like painting also with acrylic. And since it's developed gradually, I realized that this is very effective vehicle to transmit the gospel, especially when I'm now living in a religious life, especially in the priesthood and in the preaching ministry. So there are three things that I would like to stress. First is the portrait, and then the second is realism, because I believe so that realism is also portrays the real situation, the real scenario of how the people live, especially in our convent. My real experience reflects on the art that I have painted. So some of them are published already, and you can see it in the YouTube. I have my own channel, and also in Instagram and Facebook. And this is my way of transmitting the good news, the gospel to the world. And as Dominicans, perhaps Saint Dominic is very happy now, no? That we are here together, and I'm part of it. That in different fields, we have specialization on how to share the message of the gospel in different ways. So portrait, realism, because I believe that the unity, the harmony, and the texture of colors, put them together, is a very efficacious way of convincing people. Because in my experience, in my vocation as a Dominican, I live in a very secular world, society in Madrid, in Spain. The people are very tired of listening words in the pulpit and in preaching. But if you show them something like visual, is very silent, but very convincing when they show you the grandeur of God's creation through painting and art. And that's my experience. And the second and the third one is, I like also to profound my knowledge on the style of although I'm not the first one to develop this cubism. Cubism is another kind of approach, style in painting, which I believe, I am convinced that this is a Trinitarian formula. All shapes are in triangle, but it reflects a message, no? It conveys the colors, the texture, the harmony, the unity of the whole picture. And this is what I'm going to show you. These are nine ways of prayer of St. Dominic. And I only bring one. And because in Spain, this inspires me because people are in darkness, and we need the light of St. Dominic in his forehead to shine, no? The people. And by this Cubism style, during my last exhibit in Avila, I painted St. Peter Martyr and St. Catherine de Siena. It's bigger than this. People admired a lot than the realism that I painted, especially the supper or the multiplication of bread of St. Dominic. Sorry. And thank you. So this is my last part that I'm going to stress, because we know that in visual art, people will believe what they see, no? And through the power of our hands as an artist, as artists in this family, in this gathering, perhaps we have a very important roles to transform the world, no? Dominicans is a global religious family, and we can penetrate in all corners of the world to visual art, and even in music, architecture, photography, even in sculpture, and many things. And this is the bridge, effective way of bringing the good news of the gospel to the world. Thank you.
So thank you, Brother Carlos, and thank you, all of you. You've mentioned we are gradually evoking styles now. We've mentioned activism, we've mentioned portraiture, abstract, as Felix has mentioned. So we discuss a little bit ways in your visual arts production. You use various approaches, you use various sensibilities, from portraiture to cubism or contemplation, as Marie was emphasizing, or abstract art. Especially Björn and Felix are committed to more abstract paintings. Can either of you say something about why you were attracted, why you chose to paint in that way rather than in a figurative way?
Very shortly, that I've been also painting more figurative things, and still drawing and going out in the forest, drawing and so from natural things, because nature is always bigger than our imagination in some way. The beauty of the creation. And I think there are so many words today, there are so many images. The Christian language doesn't work very well in our countries. So to paint for me is to connect with something more of beyond. I also like to read Meister Eckhart, for example, this kind of mystics of today and yesterday. So I think it can reach people in an interior sphere if someone wants to stay a bit with the painting. Yeah.
Would you say, Björn, that apophatic theology like Eckhart has its correspondence in abstract art, in painting or whatever?
Yes, but because what he is doing, I think he's exploding the language beyond the logic. And also what I want to do with my paintings and this non-figurative is really to you don't have to have a motive or so, but you something could happen within you if you look at it. That's what I hope it is. And for me, creating in this way is also a way of connecting with reality in another way.
En mi caso, yo me encuentro actualmente en la abstracción porque llegó un momento en el que Dios me trajo a esta realidad. Es donde estoy ahora mismo. Tardé en comprenderlo, tardé en llegar y no sé si mañana continuaré por otros caminos.
In my case, I arrived to abstract painting because God brought me here, and I'm here now. And it took time to me to arrive, and but I don't know if tomorrow I continue with through different paths.
La principal razón por la que yo decidí abandonar la pintura figurativa y expresamente cristiana que hacía al principio fue la predicación. Mis primeros cuadros eran muy bien acogidos, pero solo por la iglesia, solo por gente creyente.
The main reason why I abandoned the figurative, specifically Christian painting, was the preaching. My first paintings were very well welcome in the Christian community, but not outside the church.
Y yo siempre me he dicho a mí mismo que como fraile dominico no podía darme por satisfecho, no podía conformarme con una predicación que fuese cómoda y bien pagada. Yo siempre he querido acercarme, establecer diálogo con las personas que no eran creyentes o quienes estuvieran alejados de la fe.
As a Dominican brother, I always say to myself that I didn't want to settle down in the preaching. In the preaching, well paid and and comfort. I always wanted to establish a dialogue with no believers or people who are away.
Entonces fue cuando descubrí que la abstracción me permitía seguir siendo fiel a mi propia verdad, seguir contando, transmitiendo el mismo mensaje, pero de una forma que no sufría los prejuicios que desde la sociedad no creyente podemos tener en la iglesia. Y eso me permitía ofrecer ese mensaje también a los no creyentes.
And that was then I discovered that the abstract painting allows me to be loyal to my truth, keep transmitting my message, but in a way that it didn't suffer the prejudice that the church suffers in this society nowadays. that allows me to get closer to no-believers.
Además, la abstracción pues, me ofrece mucha más libertad creativa, una espontaneidad que después me muestra a mí mismo cosas que yo desconozco. Y por último, estoy convencido también de que la abstracción está cargada de nuevas posibilidades, tanto para la teología como para la espiritualidad, como la predicación o la pastoral.
The creative freedom, the spontaneity, and after that, and what the painting shows me about me and the possibilities that I previously mentioned. The possibilities about theology, about social preaching, and the spirituality.
For me, because my background in theology is more inclined on the moral side, moral theology. When I was in Rome, I finished my licentiate in moral theology, which I realized that this is very closer and coherent to art, because my topic of my thesis is more on axiology, which means the values, el valor, in every art that I made is part of the important things that I would going to convey to people, to the one who wants to see my art. So I realized that also St. Thomas of Aquinas has mentioned on the transcendentals, and this is my experience. One of the reasons why I love to share this, because nowadays we are living in the 21st century, and it cannot be denied that people are more interested in the secular world, and the internet, the advancement of technology is quite far, no? And we can use this as a tool for to transmit or to share the power of art, no? The power of beauty. The transcendentals that I mentioned of St. Thomas of Aquinas, when he mentioned the three important things, no, the truth, the beauty, and good. Sometimes when we revert this reality to teach the people in our preaching ministry, in my experience, for example, I stress more on the truth. People will not be convinced, because some people might have their own truth. But I also talk about good. Some people would react, no, what I'm doing is good also. But the power of art, when you show them the beauty of creation, which God reveals to us, and St. Thomas of Aquinas is quite clear in this aspect, that art, the belleza, no, the beauty could be a best and effective vehicle to share people the goodness, no, and the truth of God. So we start with the beauty, and then followed by the good in your day-to-day experience, in your preaching ministry, and of course, the truth. People will believe in you, and everything follows. So that's the power of beauty, and that is art. So I am convinced these three reasonings, perhaps every one of us as artists have this gift also, have this thinking way of the way we live in our day-to-day experience in terms of expressing our gift and talents in art. Thank you.
So my medium is a bit different. It's video collages and photo collages. And it goes with the reality that as preachers, we are sometimes too wordy. No, we speak too much. And people don't have time to listen, or they are not interested in listening. So you can show much more by a picture, by layering stuff, and give them their own time they want to spend with the picture which they see. And the reaction time is 10 seconds, I think, when we really listen, and then we just switch off. And this is the reality of it. So in my medium, I try to, even though I use pictures which comes from reality, like videos and photographs of nature, people, elements, I layer them all together to show something very fast, but very deeply. And I think it's not about transmitting message because or about convincing people. I think we should learn also how to listen others and how to go into a dialogue with the others. We are preachers, but we have to be great listeners firstly. So this is my approach to art.
Okay, thank you all for these comments. Adam, do you want to add something? Maybe we can try and have a dialogue with those who are in the audience. If you are listening from home, let's try, and you can post your questions on the box, and then we'll hopefully find out if we have questions. I can relay them to the panel members of the paneling here. So, are there any questions from the audience? And I can pass on the microphone. Questions you would like to ask to our brother and sisters here. Joseph.
Je pensais à ce que le frère Engdahl a dit à propos de Maître Eckhart, parce que comme prêcheurs, nous pouvons avoir la tentation de toujours vouloir plaquer, même si on change, comme ça a été dit, on change de technique, on change de figuratif en abstrait, mais de vouloir toujours plaquer un message. Et peut-être nous devons nous interroger, comme ça a été dit tout de suite par notre sœur, notre capacité d'être à l'écoute du monde. Et je pense au livre du frère Bruno Cadoré qui dit cette même interpellation.
Anyone else for a question? Sister Hannah.
Thank you. Björn, you were talking about the mystical way, the approach which reaches beyond the borders we are normally thinking in or receiving the surrounding. As these days are going with the theme of the thirst of the soul and the question of the dialogue with people who not understand the Christian language. What is your experience in touching this point from different directions? Are you in dialogue with the people around you through your art? And where do you receive something from the culture you are living in, which allows you to reach in a different way out to God, learning from them?
I could say that, well, sometimes I expose in different environments, not only in Christian environments. And what is happening, I try to often to combine the paintings also with perhaps a story or something taking from normal literature or poetry or so that people can sit down and they can listen to the poetry and look at the pictures, or only the poetry, or so to be there and to add something else to the pictures, because people are it's difficult today to look at a picture. It's, you said 10 seconds. It's like that. So, but from that, I have the experience that there can be talk with people around who has been present. So I show my pictures sometimes like this. Was that an answer on your question? Or?
Could you point out one thing you learned from a non-believer in sharing with the arts, of the approach to reach beyond? Is there did something like this happen in this dialogue? It's one thing to give as an artist, and the question I'm keen is, what do you receive?
Yeah, I don't think I can point out one special thing, but for me too, it's really a learning, always a learning process also to meet with others. So I think it's the way we can, to enter into dialogue and to listen and to speak and together, to establish some kind of friendship, even if in a very short while. That's enriching for faith and for life and for love and for everything.
I'd like to ask to Adam especially. He's using a lot of black and white images. Can you say something? It's a form of abstraction to withdraw from the world of color to black and white. Why did you, what is your idea behind that? Why are you focusing, or sometimes often focusing just on black and white?
The answer is probably one nobody can expect. What is the motivation to take pictures in black and white? As I was a child, my mother gave me a camera, a very simple camera, mechanical camera, analog, we would say today, and a roll of film. It was a very short roll because the camera was very, very huge. And there were probably 12 or 16 pictures possible to capture. And she said to me, "Son, here you have one roll of film. It's expensive, so try to learn to save the resources you have, because when you are taking pictures without to think what you're doing, what's the most important is first what you're looking on, what is the communication between you and the subject of the picture, and take pictures without sense, you won't get another roll of film. So my first experience was to make everything very minimalistic, on the point, and trying not to make the same thing many times. And photography is of course documental art. Every photograph, even when abstract. So I couldn't say, I am very creative in this, what is in front of me, but I can ask where my motivation is coming from, and to try to focus as much as I can to bring with the very simple artistic way of expression the most of them.
If I may, I would like to ask the same question to Felix. The role of color in your paintings. Can you say something about how you perceive color and the role of colors in your painting?
El color para mí es uno de los elementos fundamentales en mi obra. No es algo que yo me proponga de antemano, sino que es los colores que acabo utilizando, pues me los acaba pidiendo el propio cuadro.
The color is one of the most essential thing in my paintings. Forehead at the beginning is not a color I have in my mind, but simply my body asks for that.
Y la verdad es que no sé si será por mi propia experiencia de Dios o por mi propia historia, pero al final casi siempre son colores muy vivos y muy contrastados.
The truth is, I don't know if it's from my God's experience, but the fact is it ended up to be very colorful, very high contrast and very colorful.
También me gusta mucho utilizar pigmentos metalizados porque estos tienen un brillo diferente que a mí me habla mucho de Dios.
I do also like to use very metallic pigments because they have a brightness that speaks to me about God.
De tal manera que cuando te sitúas ante un cuadro, depende de la perspectiva desde la que estás situado. Puede que te pongas en un lugar en el que el ángulo de la luz hace que ese color metalizado brille y sea muy evidente, o puede que si te pones en otro lugar en el ángulo equivocado, ese color pase completamente inadvertido, igual que la presencia de Dios.
That metallic pigment makes that the paint change depending on the angle of view. So perhaps in one point you are able to see that metallic pigment, and perhaps you change and then you don't see anymore, and that recalls me about the presence of God.
Con todo ello yo trato de que los colores expresen siempre a Dios desde la alegría del Evangelio y tratar de expresar desde esa alegría y de esa esperanza los momentos en los que siento con mucha facilidad su presencia, pero también intento expresar con alegría y esperanza los momentos oscuros, los momentos difíciles en los que las cosas no están tan claras.
With all of this, I always try that the colors transmit the joy and the hope of the gospel. Therefore, I express the happy moments, the easy moments where everything looks nice. And I do also try to express with happiness and joy the dark moments where God's presence is not so easily to find.
Thank you, all of you, all 5 of you, and Leonardo for the translation, and also Lina and Matthew for translations on Zoom. Thank you for sharing your experience, and lots of encouragements to carry on with your mission and your participation in the preaching of the order. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. There is one question in Zoom, which I haven't spotted. Okay. I think I have a question from the Czech Republic. What has led you, Marie, to use technology for art? And are you enjoying it? Do you have a good experience with it? How does it speak to you and to people who look at your artistic work? That is the question from one of your compatriots.
Thank you. I must say that the digital technologies are a bit tricky. They are still very young, and you have to master them as any other type of techniques for art, as Felix knows, because he also works with digital technologies, and Adam as well. So it has its own challenges, and you have to learn how to use them. But for me, it's the multiple options of undoing things, you know. It's a bit like cheating in some way, but you can undo stuff when in digital world. So it's more about like having freedom to work or to try. When you put a color, which is on the painting, it's very difficult to get it away. In the digital technologies, it's a bit easier, but it takes time, you know, and also you need special equipment for that, and so on and so on. And this is the other thing of it. You need special equipment also to share it with others. But as we try to invade the virtual world, which is mostly taken by the secular world, it's a good way of speaking to people who are outside, sometimes outside our churches, outside our circles, and you can reach them 24/7, 365 days a year, because people never sleep nowadays. And this is a good way how to start something, how to put it somewhere where they can read it again. So this is the other thing of it. If you take a good picture of a great painting, it still will be a copy of that painting. But if you produce a good film, a good photograph, a good collage, which is already digital, and you send it to the world, it will be still good. You know, it will be still in the same quality. And this is the good thing of it. The author isn't so important behind it. So once you finish it, it stays on its own merits. And so you have to put everything into the first good try when you send it out. So this is why I use this undoing thing.
Thank you very much, Marie. I think Sister Marie closes this panel conversation. Thanks to the translators, the interpreters. And in an hour, we shall meet here again for the next presentation, which will be by the Master of the Order of Preachers, Brother Gerard Timoner, who will talk about the foundations of Dominican spirituality. So do connect again, if you like, in an hour time here at the Theatrum. And meanwhile, have a good cup of coffee or tea. And thank everyone for being here and for participating in this roundtable. Thank you very much. God bless.